We will now recess to executive session for litigation. 6:30. Dr. Mancuso, student recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Good evening, everyone. It's my honor and privilege this evening to have the high school and Canadockley Elementary School students recognized for their fine achievements. So let's begin with our high school students. Mr. McGlynn, please.
Good evening. It's my honor tonight to honor two of our seniors from our senior class this year in the twilight of their high school career. Eastern is starting to wind down here in the next month and a half. We talk about graduation, and before you know, hopefully that means warmer weather for graduation than it is currently. At this time, I'd like Bob Barker. I'm going to call down Colton Leapart. That's all I'm seeking. So come on down. He's here. I think he's stuck in with your mom and dad. So they're here. Thank you for attending. You'll see a theme with Colton. Colton's really into science and math. Don't hide behind me. He's currently taking AP Bio, Honors Physics, AP Calc, and Anatomy and Physiology. So I think I know where his passion lies. During his high school career, Colton has played 2 years of baseball here at the high school. He's volunteered in a number of events, including May Day within our district. And in his free time, he enjoys spending time with his friends and family. His plans next year are to attend Penn State University and major in biochemistry, with the intent on, after finishing his degree at Penn State, attending a medical school and the goal of intervention radiology. So we wish you the best of luck. We hope you enjoy your last few weeks, and hopefully in the future, I don't have to see you in the hospital. So, wishing you the best of luck. Hey, you can come up. How are you? Good. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to introduce Hayden Carver. I saw some of your mom and dad are here tonight as well. Hayden's been involved in a variety of things, which I'll get to shortly, but he's currently taking German 4, AP Bio, Art 2, and AP European History as he ends his senior year. He's been heavily involved in our music and theater programs here at the high school. He's a member of all the ensembles for chorus and band. He's a member of the marching band, member of indoor percussion, and member of the Broadway Knights. And when he has some spare time, he likes to volunteer at the Columbian Animal Shelter. So there's a passion for animals as well. Cats. Long hair or short? Short. You have long hair. Okay. We'll talk about this later. Next year, he also plans to attend Penn State University, and be another line for us, studying nuclear engineering. So maybe if your line comes up and running, you have a job close to home. Maybe. So, with that said, it's my privilege to have Hayden here as one of our students of the month, and wishing you the best as your senior Christian Village student. So, thank you.
Hayden, congratulations on behalf of the board. Next time we hope to see you will be at graduation. Congratulations on this evening. Appreciate you coming out. Next, I'd like to turn over the mic to our Canadockley Elementary principal, who has a kindergartner and fourth grade student with him this evening as our Students of the Month. So, Mr. Freed, welcome. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to present a couple of students. First, I have a graphic up behind you. This has been kind of an ongoing thing throughout the year. We've had a couple homeroom teachers really pull ahead of the pack as far as their recognition of students around the building and their use of Live School. So Mr. Young and Ms. Lloyd. So I thought it was fitting that when we looked at like the top couple of earners for Armor Points and we're trying to make our selection for Students of the Month, that they didn't even realize they'd be going head-to-head here again tonight. So we'll get things started with kindergarten. I'm excited to introduce Everett Hippie. Everett, if you could come stand over here. And I'm going to have Mr. Young come on over. Mr. Young's Everett's homeroom teacher to tell us a little bit more about Everett.
I think we often associate behavior with perfection. And in our classroom, we look for the perfection and the positive choices we make. Because true perfection is who we are when the going gets tough. And in kindergarten, we have a lot of examples when the going gets tough. But we look to Everett for how to make those positive choices. So I am very proud of you, Everett, because you are our leader of positive choices.
One more round of applause for Everett. All right, next in fourth grade, we have Hayden Hughes. Hayden, come on up and join me. He's won a couple of awards at different points throughout the year. And to tell us a little bit more, I have Miss Lloyd, his homeroom teacher. Come on down.
So Hayden, or as we call him in our classroom, Hey, is incredibly kind in our classroom, gets along with just about anyone, is super hardworking whenever he comes to school. He comes every day, eager to learn, always participating, and is always motivated to improve, do his best. Comes to me anytime he wants to retake a quiz or get a better score. He's a joy to have in class, super fun, and even though he can be a little silly sometimes, he can turn that silliness off in the blink of an eye when he's ready to get down to the grind. And I'm so proud of how much he's grown this year and that he's up here today getting this award.
All right, Hayden Hughes, everybody.
Once again, congratulations to all the Students of the Month. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, but we understand you have busy schedules, so feel free to leave. Up next, we have student representative reports. Grace, take it away.
At their assembly on March 28th, they recognized students who have been wearing their armor like Harper, emphasizing those who have been helpful to others. Their armor team introduced their focus for the next month, resolving conflict. They also had a couple friends from New York Revolution to challenge their students to keep reading Boomer's Book Club. Despite the change in plans due to the weather, their art show and movie night on Friday, April 11th was a big success. Huge thanks to their volunteers who helped plan and adjust plans for the event, to those who helped one Friday, and for all who came out to check out their students' art and enjoy a movie. It was a big undertaking, but the turnout was strong with about 180 plus in attendance to enjoy the event. As they get ready for PSSA, starting next week, their students in grades 3 to 5 will be getting together with mentor groups made up of peers from different grade levels to share strategies and help motivate one another to do their best. They're looking forward to trying out this new approach to getting their kids invested and taking pride in their work. For Kreitz Creek Elementary, on Wednesday, March 26th, KC students were selected by their peers and recognized for their leadership in demonstrating the portrait of a graduate trait of collaboration. Selected students participated in Snacks for Acts with VIP lunch seating and special ice cream treats during their lunch. Kreitz Creek students in grades K to 2 visited the Appel Center for the Performing Arts on Thursday, April 3rd for the annual Stage to Page production. This year's performance was a fun rendition of The Stinky Cheese Man, a book that puts a fun spin on the classic gingerbread man tale. Kreitz Creek welcomed students from Trinity UCC Preschool on Friday, April 11th for a brief visit for a tour of the building, a song and reading activity, and have the opportunity to join their kindergarten classrooms for a craft activity. On Monday, April 14th, Kreitz Creek kindergarten students held their annual Easter bonnet parade in front of the school, showcasing their creative and homemade Easter bonnets. For Wrightsville Elementary, March Math Madness was a great success again this year. Throughout the month of March, each grade level held their annual Math Facts competition. 6 winners were crowned. Thanks to all of the parents, students, and staff for their participation and encouragement. On April 7th, the PTO hosted a freestyle BMX show. The students loved it, and there were many positive messages about success in life, how to treat others, and work ethic. The assembly included floor tricks from the BMX professionals and a large ramp in the gym. The team even ramped over Mr. Pricehead. On April 10th, they recognized their Philo Heroes of the Month at the monthly assembly. Students were recognized by their peers and staff for problem solving and resolving conflict. They also recognized the top live school point earners for each homeroom. There was a special return appearance from Mr. Growth Mindset, encouraging the students to fail forward and finish out the year on a strong note. On April 12th, author Timothy Young came to Wrightsville to give presentations to K to 2 and 3 to 5 students. He showed his books and toys that he's created for famous films and TV shows. He also did a presentation for families that evening. Thanks to Title I teachers Mrs. Lavery and Ms. Townsley for organizing. For the middle school, they welcomed another 23 new Knights of the Round Table at their court assembly on March 28th. Their final Knights of the Round Table nominations will take place on April 25th. All court nominees for the year will be honored with a special picnic on May 23rd at San Luis Park. On April 22nd, they will kick off 2 weeks of fundraising with their annual color game sponsored by their PTO. Every day during lunches, team members from Apex Fundraising will encourage their students with contests, challenges, and more as they look to raise money for their PTSO, which is responsible for funding the RISE trip to Hershey Park. For the high school, the Spring High School Choir and Orchestra Concert, as well as the Triumph Induction and Recital are on May 6th. The Spring Band Concert is on May 14th. The juniors had a successful JA Real Life Day on April 3rd. DECA is taking 16 students to the International Career Development Conference on April 25th to the 30th to Orlando, Florida. Boys Lacrosse has had their youth night and breast cancer awareness game tonight at 7:30. The EYHS Art Show is May 7th. The academic award ceremony is tomorrow, April 16th. Armor Celebration Day is on Thursday, April 17th, along with Varsity Club's Spring Pep Rally. AP testing starts in the first week of May, and Keystone exams will be on May 13th, 15th, 19th, and 20th.
Thank you, Grace. Great job. As always, you're welcome to stay, but we understand you have busy schedules, so feel free to leave. We've reached the point of the meeting for educational presentation. Dr. Anders.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. We're going to have Mr. Freed come right back up here to the microphone and share a little bit about Canadockley. Just ask the board to kind of hone in a couple things that he'll be sharing this evening, specifically some of the things
administrators. I think it's good to start establishing that relationship early. And we tried to ramp up the excitement and the enthusiasm this year by having like a signing day type ceremony. The setup that you see in the pictures has been kind of passed along between all the elementary buildings. It's just kind of a fun photo op. Kids get to pose, take pictures, signing their kind of commitment, their intention to join us as Golden Knights. So pretty exciting stuff. Big thanks to our teachers, our school psychologists, our speech language pathologists, everybody that's involved with putting on those kindergarten screening events. Yeah, it's just really fun, and I'm glad that we can kind of amp things up and take an occasion that could otherwise be just like, yep, you're coming in to take a test, and make it kind of a fun first experience in our school. All right, so let's get into what we're doing with the kids. Once they're really enrolled, they're here, they're Golden Knights, we're talking about personalized learning. So over the last several years, our district has done a lot of work. You on the board have probably seen a graphic like this several times. It's our progression of modern learning or modern teaching. These are essentially like, it's a progression that we want our teachers to go through when we're onboarding to try to get them to a place where they can do more personalized learning, have the kids take more ownership of what's going on. And even though we've been recognized at a national level for our work in this area, there's still a lot of change that needs to happen. So at one of the sessions that we had over the summer, we talked a little bit about we have to collect the dots before we connect the dots. We've collected a lot of dots here at this district with the different practices, and now trying to figure out how to add in, how to supplement, how to look at maybe some different programmatic changes that are going to make it a little bit easier for our teachers to be able to teach. As you'll see in a moment, one of the hardest things that a teacher has on their plate is to be able to differentiate when you have a broad range of ability level in your classroom. Teaching one lesson for that whole group becomes kind of difficult when you realize that there are kids that are pretty far ahead, some kids that are still struggling or maybe trying to fill some earlier gaps. So teachers for a long time were going around trying to find resources in many different places. And I think our district's done a great job over the last couple of years bringing in some new programs. So foundations for our reading and phonics instruction in K through 2, possibly 3rd grade next year. Inspire Science and Reveal Math are both McGraw-Hill products that we've started working with in our district this year. And when you look at the resources, when you look at what a teacher is given, I'm not going to go through and read all this to you. These are just screenshots from their teacher's manual. There's a couple things that all of these have in common. What we're looking at is that there's a strong foundation on standards and having taking a research-based approach to trying to meet learning targets for our kids. All of these programs have some different practice and different drills to hone skills and different methods for teachers to try to assess student learning. And all of these teaching manuals talk about the need to differentiate, the idea that you can't just teach to like the average kid in a room because such a thing doesn't exist. So even like the textbook companies understand that we need to find ways to meet kids where they are. So what happens then, if you're a teacher, you're given this great new resource, but you realize that you have a room full of students that have different interests and different ability levels. Here's just a picture from a classroom in our school. The units of the math program are listed across the top, and you see that there are kids that are working on like Unit 10 and 11. There are kids that are working on like Unit 5. And so there's a pretty wide gap at times. And for a teacher to be able to get all the kids at that point where they're going to have like the most benefit, to get the most bang for their buck, it really does take an artful skill. You need to be precise, you need to know your kids very well, and you have to have an idea of what are the different things that you could do with these different groups of kids. And really the key to all of this is transparency and ownership. If the kids have an idea of what it is the goals are for their learning, and they have an idea of where they are on that journey, the kids can assume more independence and a little bit more autonomy, and they're able to tell the teacher at times, hey, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to show you I've learned this topic. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And that's evidenced through a lot of the conversations we have around like badging. When our kids look at their badge platform and they see that there are badges that haven't been filled in, it's pretty common that kids are able to initiate and ask teachers, hey, what can I do? I feel like I'm ready to earn this badge. And the teacher will set them up with another opportunity to either get some extra practice or to jump in and rock and roll. Now, our district is really far ahead in this charge. As I mentioned before, we've been kind of on the national stage in a couple different conferences, And one of the things that's exciting but also kind of scary is when there aren't people that have taken that path ahead of you. We're charting our own path. We're trying to figure out how this works. We have an idea, our vision is sound, we know that we're trying to personalize learning for our kids. We have these new resources that are available to us through McGraw-Hill, through foundations, and now we're trying to say, okay, we have this philosophy, and we have these programs, and these programs might not have been necessarily designed for our approach. Now, in some cases, we found partners, like with McGraw-Hill, that have seriously invested in our district and have sent people out. The president of their company visited us just a couple of weeks ago. Some of you were there for that visit to learn from our district, to talk with our teachers, and to see how they could to better tweak and design their platform to suit our needs, because they see us as being at the front of that wave. In other cases, we're finding our own partners, whether those are local districts in our area, other districts that are part of different networks like the League of Innovative Schools, and then in our district too, now that we have these resources that we feel pretty confident about, we've also given our teachers some freedom to explore, okay, how can you use this program with fidelity, but still honor the vision of our district and what we're trying to do to personalize learning for our kids. So the approach is varied. I would argue that there's a combination of things that need to take place. I'm not going to go through and give you a whole undergrad course right now about pedagogy, but the idea here is if I were to hold up like a rubber band and a pen, and I were to say that this pen represents the pace of the class that we're moving through, and I were to put this rubber band on the pen and say, okay, with some degree of flexibility, a teacher needs to be able to account for, as the class is moving, that there are some kids that are behind pace, kind of stretching out this way, and maybe some kids that are ahead of pace, pushing that way. But there are limits to how far that rubber band can stretch before it snaps. So our job as a district is to try to prepare teachers for this mindset and to increase their capacity and to open their eyes to the fact that you can't just have one pace of instruction happening for all the kids at the same time, and also provide them the tools that they can use, that they're not going to have to scramble and find all these random miscellaneous things because we don't have enough in our curriculum to support them. We've done a great job with that, and what you'll see is this spectrum. I'm going to represent it through these pictures here, is that there's a time and a place for whole group instruction, there's a time and a place for small group and collaborative work, and then ultimately we really want our kids to be able to function independently and to be able to take a very highly personalized path. And we know that our teachers, whether they've been here for the whole ride of modern learning or if they're just starting out, we need to figure out where they are in the spectrum and try to give them the tools that they need to succeed. So just a couple quick stories. So first, back in October, we took a few teachers to Manheim Central. They're another district that is like-minded in a lot of ways, and a couple of the areas that stuck out to us is that they're also taking an approach to badging and standards-based grading, and they also had some use of the Reveal Math program that we are more heavily invested in now. When we took our teachers there, that self-paced math program really stuck out. Trying to figure out how to really leverage time, path, pace, and place is difficult, but they had a decent model. When we came back, Alyssa Barnberger, one of our second grade teachers, began designing her version of what this self-paced math program could look like, because Eastern is not the same as Manheim Central. We have our own things that make us unique, that are part of our DNA, that's baked into how we do things here. We have our own way that we're using our math program a little bit differently with more fidelity than Central. And she went on this journey where at the beginning of the school year, she started out doing more whole group and small group, which is great. But she really worked to the far extreme of that, where she's really not doing any whole group instruction in her classroom anymore. Everything is small group or one-on-one attention given to her kids. Because they're aware of their goals, they're able to navigate through those resources at their own pace. They're able to let their teacher know when they're ready to move on to the next thing. That's awesome. So here's another story. I have Mr. Young behind me. I'll get his thoughts here in just a moment. As you are aware, we were heavily involved with Modern Teacher. We hosted a conference here in 2024. We had people from around the country come into our schools. Our teachers received recognition. They led seminars and workshops during conferences, talking about the things that we did here. But with the exception of these new programs like Foundations, like Reveal Math, like Inspire, sometimes the approach that's in that manual isn't as clear. How does that fit in with our district's vision? Jeremy Young, who's sitting behind me, was a teacher that was an early adopter of these practices. He was recognized for that at the national level. He was the chair of the National Teacher Council on Modern Learning. And earlier this year had a lot of difficulty trying to work through, okay, here's this program, it's a nice program, but I don't really know how this fits in with the vision and everything that we've been recognized for. So I actually want to invite Jeremy up here for just a moment, just to speak a little bit about kind of his thought process throughout the school year, kind of get used to things a little bit.
So we saw some pictures of those nights to be. They don't come in all the same. Sometimes we can hold a crayon, sometimes we can paint a picture. And so from the onset in kindergarten, we start small groups, and that's the basic skills. Because if you want to know how a lesson is going, ask a kindergartner. They have no problem showing you. You can tell by who's laying on the floor, who's rolling their eyes, and who's paying attention. So you know right away with that when you go in with that, okay, this whole group lesson is working for some, it's not working for others. Program-wise, I'm not anti-program. Programs just take some time to get used to. You don't read a book on auto mechanics and teach it the next day. And I know that I have a lot of knowledge that's going into the math, like I can see the math program, but I have to be aware of the nuances in the program. So in 23, 24, yeah, I was at the top of my game for personalized learning. Loved it. I knew our programs that existed. I knew where I was supposed to go with them, and then we had change, and the OOLA happened. Mr. Freed, the OOLA. I had to come to that term this year, this year. And it just took some time. It took some time. We started with more whole class learning, and then you start to see, well, this child is not quite ready for this. We need to offer some more support. So now in the fall, that's right, we're in the spring, we're back to personalized learning in smaller groups. And we're back into a lot of student ownership and independent work. And that's where I like kindergarten to be. Because in my classroom, kindergartners who sit still and act perfect, that's a little creepy. That's Stephen Kingish. Kindergartners need to be up, they need to be active, they need to be doing things and learning, and that's where the personalized learning comes in. So tonight, ironically enough, I presided over my last National Teacher Council meeting, and one of the things that we work on there is connecting teachers across the country. How is this happening in an Arizona kindergarten? How is this happening in a Colorado kindergarten? Because you get your tribe together. You get people who think like you, who are ready to push boundaries. And yes, kindergartners can do big things. I love talking to my high school colleagues, but a lot of times when I say I teach kindergarten, I know I was the cut and paste major in college. That's what the elementary student people always were. But when you put the kindergarten teachers together, that's when we start pushing our boundaries and we become better professionals. Right now, Mr. Freed has an opportunity at Kanadapi where we are doing the same concept with our peers. So we have the instructional leadership team, and we get a chance periodically to go through each other's room and talk and see what they're doing and how they're incorporating modern teaching practices and independent learning groups. So Mr. Freed, I think you have one more slide with that on it.
Yeah, so what you see here, this was kind of our introductory slides to the last round of our Gold Rush, we called it. We had a few teachers volunteer to say, hey, what's my instructional focus? Here are some of the things that I'm really working on to further personalize learning for my kids in my classroom. And then just opening up some time for teachers to get around. This was completely voluntary, but we still had 18, 19 teachers participate in this voluntary session just to come and spend some time in each other's rooms and talk a little bit, and compare notes, share resources with one another. So I have a couple of takers for another round of this. This is really the thing, this is the catalyst for a lot of people, is just this exposure to some other ideas. And that can't be something that's just limited to a couple people that have the privilege of going to a conference. That's important to be able to go out and see what other people are doing in other parts of the country and other parts of the state. But we need to bring that home, and we need to be able to allow teachers that opportunity, because otherwise this could be a very isolated profession. People go in their room, close their doors, and they teach. We need to open up those doors, allow people to get in with their colleagues and see what they're up to. So that's really what this comes around to, just to kind of summarize that transparency is really what unlocks ownership for kids. The fact that we have scales and standards-based grading and that becomes transparent for our kids through our badging is a big deal. We know that we have great resources available to our teachers, that they don't have to dig around looking for things anymore. Teachers have access to a consistent, high-quality material. And we know that as long as our educational philosophy is there, as long as we're true to our vision and allow teachers the opportunities to explore that a little bit and to share with one another, even though there's not a pathway for us, we will chart our own, and we'll be proud of that, and hopefully others will continue to come and visit our schools to see the great things that we're up to, throughout the district and at Canadockley. Thank you guys very much. I don't know if you have any questions or anything before I yield my time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It might be for Mr. Young as well. It's two questions. One is, how do you find out the students' interest, what they like to do? And then the second question is, how do you apply that interest in your learning?
Yeah, good question. Sometimes at the start of the year, we'll send like a survey to the kids and their families, where they can just even before school starts, they can give us a little bit of background about the students, what their likes and dislikes are, favorite classes, stuff like that. That could be helpful for teachers. So we've done that before at the building level, and I know teachers individually do those types of things too. A lot of it really comes down to being like relationship centered. Our teachers really do a great job of getting to know the kids and connecting with their families early on. And that information that they get, it doesn't just like collect dust. I mean, the teachers are great about talking with their kids, making sure that connection's there, but they'll pull examples into class. One of the things that I've worked with a couple teachers on this year is at times if there's a kid that looks a little bit disengaged, one of the beautiful things about AI is I could take like some sort of math problem or whatever, and I could plop that into an AI engine, put a couple pieces of information about the kid, and now all of a sudden we have like a customized kind of like worksheet that's like problems that are like, hey, this is about your crocheting business with your best friend, and now you're trying to buy supplies and whatever else. So that's like, sometimes there's low-hanging fruit that way that you can incorporate student interests. So I'm not sure we could talk a little bit more at length about that, but there's my quick answer. Thank you. Appreciate the question. Anything else? All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Up next, Mr. Marks with the nutrition presentation.
Yeah, so next we have the nutrition group. They are responsible for our cafeteria management. They started the contract back in January 1st. So we're a few months into it, and we're here to show the progress of the program. We have Shanika in the middle there. She is our cafeteria manager here at Eastern York, so she has her office in the high school. We also have Sarah on the left, and Krista is on the right there, so take it away.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address the board. Again, my name is Krista Addinger. I'm the senior director that's overseeing Shanika here at Eastern York as your on-site director. Sarah is our VP of Operations K-12 with the Nutrition Group, and collectively we have together over 30 years of experience in K-12 food service, and so we're here to serve you and the community. Just a little bit about TNG, since this is the first time that we're able to present. If you could press, next one. The next one's good. No, that's okay. I think two more if you could, yeah. All right, so we are a private family-owned and operated company with nearly 50 years of industry standards, expertise, and we have over 260 clients in over 6 states. And what makes us a little unique in this industry is like really the root of our core principles is our dedication to really providing nutritious and delicious meals to students that are coming from a heart-centered place while also maintaining financial integrity, as you can see here in our mission, vision, and our philosophy. One of our mottos is we do what we're going to say we're going to do. These here are our 12 promises. Everything from budget-conscious solutions to quality food. Some of these things we have already worked on implementing in the short 3 months that we have been here at Eastern York, and I'm also going to review those things in addition to the things that we're looking forward to for the remainder of the school year and for next. And part of that is our marketing and programs. On the next slide here, you'll see some of the recipes that we have already implemented into our 6-week menu cycle. Some of the yogurt parfaits are being offered both at breakfast and lunch as an alternative as a vegetarian option. We do a lot of bowls, as you can see there with the burrito bowl, and then topped mac and cheese, which is a very popular item. On the next slide here, you'll see a lot of our promotions that we do throughout the school year. Everything from Farm to Fork, which is a program that we will do in the fall months, which promotes and highlights a lot of our local produce. Some other items like our featured faves and our tasty bites, those are things that we have already implemented this school year in the past 3 months. Nutrition for Life. That is a program that we'll implement at the beginning of next school year, and that invites our kindergarten and first grade classrooms to join us for lunch free of charge. It's the bills picked up by the nutrition group to really get students to feel comfortable in the cafeteria. Like I think that a lot of times that's the one of the most aggressive areas to be. There's a lot of noise, and it can be intimidating for these young students that are just starting their career. Supporting resources, we have a litany of resources that are provided to Shanika from our corporate chefs, our dietitians, our marketing, our safety management. But really what it comes down to is the people. You could move to the next slide. That's the cornerstone ultimately of our success, is the people that are in the buildings doing the work. They make the program. And for our employees, Eastern York, if you move to the next slide, Eastern York High School was selected for a Moments Matter. And what Moments Matter is a recognition that only a few teams are selected for. Over those 260 accounts, there are numerous nominations that are put in for the Moments Matter. And Eastern York High School was selected and received this award in the month of March for their dedication and for all of their hard work as we changed so much, right? We came in January and we set a lot of expectations, and they really excelled and exceeded those expectations at the high school. And so it was a big surprise. I know Dr. Manguso was there. It was wonderful. And it really lifted spirits. You know, we were able to get over the hump of the first couple months, and they appreciated that. So just a few things that we have already implemented since January. You can see here, these are all pictures that are coming right out of the school district here at Eastern York. We implemented a wider variety of fresh fruit and vegetables. That picture there is from the high school, but it's also being offered at the elementary levels as well. We are now freshly making the pizzas, as to where before they were pre-made frozen pizzas. So our pizzas district-wide are now being homemade every Friday in every kitchen. We also have a specialty made-to-order specialty line at the high school, so that's anything from a potato bar to a nacho bar that's being offered daily as well. And you can see Shanika's smiling face in that picture there. She was offering the boba lemonade as one of our limited time offers at the high school. Here you can also see we implemented a grab-and-go kiosk at the high school. So we immediately recognized that a room for improvement was at the high school and middle school for their breakfast programs. Those programs were operating at less than 20% participation, and the goal really is to get to 20, 30, 40%, which the elementary schools are reaching that goal already. And so in the middle of March, we implemented the grab-and-go kiosk at the high school level. I'm happy to say that the participation has increased by 60%. We're currently feeding between 160 and 180 students a day, as to where before the kiosk was available, we were serving anywhere between 85 and 100. We also just implemented, as of yesterday, the grab-and-go kiosk at the middle school, and just in 2 days of service, participation has increased by 40%. So you can see that by making these meals more accessible to the students, we're able to capture more of that audience and fill their bellies and get them prepared for their school day. Just a few other pictures here at the high school of the area enhancement and some of the caterings. That was the farmer's breakfast there at the bottom right. On the next slide, I'll just go over a few of our upcoming promotions. I do have the grab-and-go kiosk at the middle school, which was just started, so I do anticipate that we will see climbing and participation for breakfast at the middle school. We do have a chef's corner that's scheduled at the high school, so we have Chef Steve that's coming on the 29th. He's going to do a stir-fry station at the high school for all of the students. That is a reimbursable meal. We also have some student meetings with student council that is scheduled, along with surveys that are being sent out to gather that most important feedback, directly from the students, so that we can start to plan and prepare for next school year, as well as Molly the Cow. So if anyone is available between the 12th and the 14th and wants to volunteer to wear the cow costume, it's really fun, I promise. I usually do it myself because I enjoy it so much, but Molly the Cow will be visiting all 3 elementary schools between the 12th and the 14th as a dairy promotion. We'll likely give out some free little samples of smoothies to the students and just kind of create a little bit of chaos in the cafeteria. It'll be all fun. We also have some tasty bites that are scheduled on the menus, as well as the excited about breakfast omelet station, which will also be utilizing some of the supplies that we had received for the breakfast grant, which is also what provided the allowance for the grab-and-go kiosks as well. And then looking ahead to next school year, we have already worked on putting together our grant application for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Grant, which is a grant that's operated at the elementary level, which allows these students to receive a fresh fruit or vegetable sample, usually 3 times a week, along with nutritional information and kind of like produce quizzes, fun information. It's usually served in the classroom in the afternoon hours, and it exposes students to fruits and vegetables that they otherwise would not have access to, things like dragon fruit or lychee, and it's really great. It's a really great program, so we're hoping to be awarded that for next school year. We'll also be implementing some employee engagement and training. We always have 2 really big training days over the summer, which gets the staff really excited and prepared for next school year, as well as some TNG Cares. Those are awards that we give out quarterly, and some staffing plans to maintain the integrity of the staff within the buildings. All of those marketing items that I had mentioned earlier, those you can expect to see throughout the school year next year, as well as the menu analysis and development will be changing for next school year as well, as we get that most important feedback from the students. And of course, the nutrition education, one of the most fun parts of the job is really being able to get into the classrooms and provide some nutrition education to the students. I just wanted to also mention that TNG Charities is something that's close and dear to all of our hearts. We do offer scholarships to student workers, and that's something that we'll be looking at, probably trying to partner with some of the programs here next year so that we can get some student workers that may be eligible for these grant opportunities. And that is really all I have. I tried to keep it short in this long board meeting, but I would be happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
First, I want to say thank you. I hear firsthand from my daughter the improvements that you're making at the school, so thank you for that. Another question, do you have any opportunity to take part in local produce and meats, or is that challenging with the program that you have?
Local produce, so a lot of times we're forced to work with larger produce vendors because they're the ones that have like GAP certification. They can ensure that the farmers have GAP certification, which kind of ensures that the produce is safe. We can work directly with farmers, but then we have the liability to actually go on site to make sure that they're following those protocols. But I can tell you, we work with Shide Produce, and they do carry, especially during those harvest months, like a lot of times in the fall, that's when we can get a lot of really great produce that's locally grown.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a statement. Dr. Rader shared a presentation with me a couple months ago about students not able to learn because they're hungry. I don't remember the percentage of that, but I know it was pretty high. And I believe you mentioned bringing the kiosks in, and I think that's great to see that the kiosk has almost doubled. I'm curious to see what the results would be next year with the kiosks to see if we've eliminated hunger in our school district.
Yeah, just to clarify, the survey said, what keeps you from being successful in the classrooms, and a high response was, I'm hungry. So we noticed when I talked to the high school administration, they were already in conversations with you, and you were already in the process of moving, or thinking about bringing that breakfast kiosk out. So we were all on the same page, and that happened really quickly. We're super excited to hear the numbers going up, that kids are grabbing food on the way into school. So thank you.
Yeah, and I only anticipate that they'll continue to grow. It's one of those things that once one student sees that they're getting breakfast, and it kind of like brings in the whole troop. So.
And you have a lot of freedom on the menu items?
A lot of freedom, I'm sorry?
Yeah, like, you don't have like regulations on what you need to provide or?
We do, yeah, there are regulations, so those are federal regulations in regards to like the nutritional guidelines and like the meal components that we have to serve, the fruit, the vegetable, the grain, the protein, all of those things. So yeah, we do have those limitations, but we offer quite a wide variety of offerings even within that.
Thank you, ladies.
I have one more question from Mr. Livingston, who's on virtual.
Really just an observation. I just wanted to thank them for the work they're doing. First
No, I had not mentioned lunch. So lunch participation is relatively high when we came in. CEP status at the elementary level starting this school year really propped that up. So all of the elementary schools are current, and the middle school are currently at 70% participation, which is kind of our goal. The middle school, the high school was the lowest. When we came in, it was about 50%. We're close to 60% now. So we have seen an increase at the high school, which is kind of where we were targeting our resources for the first 3 months.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you again. We have reached the point of the meeting for the hearing of the patrons on agenda items only. We will have another hearing of the patrons at the end of the meeting, and you can speak on any topic. Residents or taxpayers of the district, members of staff, parents, guardians, and students enrolled in the district, and individuals who have been requested by the superintendent or board to be present and give subject may address the board. Each statement made by the commenter shall be limited to 3 minutes. No time will be added to your time limit. Please remain quiet and show respect to the speaker. Failure to do so will result in removal of the meeting. Commenters may not cede their time to the next individual. No matter involving individual students, personnel, purchase, lease, or real estate, labor, litigations, or a privileged confidential issue shall be initiated at the public meeting. Please note the board will be listening and taking notes, but please do not expect a response. If further action is needed from the administration, direction will be given to follow up with the community member. Should a board member offer a response, that individual is speaking only for him or herself, and that response should not be considered that of the board.
East Prospect. I read through the policy on athletics, and I'm encouraged by what I have read. I'm trying to protect girls in sports for their privacy, for their safety. I think it's a very positive thing that you are looking at doing here. I read through the executive orders that were referenced in there, and I believe that it said that no female athlete should be compelled to compete against a male athlete. I wasn't so sure that your policy had any provision in there on how to handle that if Eastern is competing against another school district that is not abiding by that and has brought a male athlete to a female competition. I just want to make sure that there will be no Eastern athlete who will be penalized by the school for not competing against a male in a female sport. In regards to the taxes that you're looking at doing, I know that you have 3 different proposals there on the tax increase to vote for, and I also saw that there were some things on other taxes that could be put into place, per capita tax, real estate transfer, and so on. What I would like to hear more of is other ways of reducing the expenses within the school. I've only been attending for a few meetings, but it's almost $60 million. Seems like a lot of money, and I am not yet educated enough to know where all of that money is going. So I would like, in future meetings that I plan on attending, to hear more discussion about where the money is going and where savings can be found. Thank you very much for all that you're doing moving forward to serve the community.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Bitzel, I live in Helm Township. Since you brought up the taxes, I looked into it, and you guys are requesting a tax increase. Currently, my school tax, not my property tax, just my school tax, is almost half of my mortgage payment. And when you guys look out across the street, do you know what I see? I see $376,000 in school tax only revenue from those townhouses that are being built. That's the townhouses. That's not the homes. It's just the townhouses that I think are currently built, maybe a few that are still being built. Also, we have the new Alro Steel. That alone, now I apologize, I had notes, I was running late, I was glad you guys started late, and I don't have them with me. That Alro Steel alone should be enough not to have to raise our taxes. Between them and them, I'm pretty sure that just alone, Ace Beverage pays something like, it's $60-some thousand a year in school tax. I just don't understand why you would need to raise our taxes when my little school tax is half of my mortgage payment. So I don't see the need for the increase. I don't see what you'd be doing so different at those townhouses and new homes that are going across the street. And Alro Steel alone couldn't cover for at least a couple of years. Because I apologize that I don't remember what Alro Steel pays. Again, I forgot my notes, but it's a lot. And I just don't see the need to raise anybody's taxes for school tax. My taxes when I moved in here were $2,000. That was in 2000, at the end of 2006. Now they're over 4,000, or about 4,000. And almost all that is school tax. So, I just want to say that.
Thank you.
I looked into it.
So you can clearly see that I'm here with a broken leg. I lived in the school district, I was raised in the school district. My father was born in the school district, his mother was born in the school district. I am here, I broke my leg 2 days ago. I am here because I am ashamed. Ashamed of every person on this school board and in this administration that is filling the school district with hate and misinformation. This school district's job is to make every single student here feel safe and feel wanted. And what you're doing is letting your political beliefs, your personal beliefs, your religious beliefs fuel the decisions you make for students that are not a part of your communities and that are just a part of the school district. I understand that everyone comes from a different walk of life, but so does every student in the school district. And before you make broad sweeping decisions based on the personal beliefs that you have or the beliefs that you're hearing from loud parents in this school district, I would just implore you to think about the students that you're impacting. The students that maybe won't be here next year or maybe will leave school because they don't feel safe. And maybe for your children that are in the school or grandchildren or kids that were in the school, it wasn't an issue. But there are children in the school, there are teenagers in the school that will not feel safe. And I implore you to think about that before you just make these decisions that some parents will say are amazing. Some parents will think is so important to make their child feel safe. There are many children in this school district that are not going to feel safe, and that is on your shoulders. And I am here today because I am ashamed of you, and that's all I want to say.
Could we get your name, please?
I live in the school district.
Yeah, we need your name for the record, please.
My name is Leah.
Leah.
I don't think I'm going to have to sign into a public meeting. I can share that information in private.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of previous board minutes. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the previous board minutes?
Motion. Second.
Motion passed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Treasurer's report, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report? Number 8.
Motion.
opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have Secretary's report. I'd like to take 9.1 to 9.6. Can I have a motion from 9.1 to 9.6?
Second.
Any questions from 9.1 to 9.6?
And 9.1.5, the professional services stadium renovations, what's the 8,000 for you?
So that is the stadium renovations, that's the architecture.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
And 9.3, revised quiz quote, is that something that's new or are we redoing that?
That's renewal.
So we're looking to, as part of our budget for next year, we're looking at quizzes, which is going to replace two programs that we felt like we weren't getting the greatest benefit from, Nearpod and Edpuzzle. So we'd like to purchase it this year because the company reached out to us and said if we're able to get that now, we would be able to begin accessing the program starting with the purchase. And they enable us to import everything from those other programs that we're replacing. So if we have this additional month and a half, our teachers can go in that we're using Nearpod, that we're using Edpuzzle, and bring in their lessons to quizzes. We'll be able to provide some PDs so that we have that stuff and it's not lost when we lose the program. So I did have some money that I budgeted for our Inspire Science and Materials kit, and because we purchased a lot of things, we're able to cut costs, and that's what I'm going to use as that extra fund is to purchase for that, which was budgeted for next year, so we'd have access to the program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Ken, one other I forgot, 9.2, it's the e-services. Can you explain the computer services?
So this is, this is the computer program we use for our accounting, our payroll, our taxes, our human resources, so our tracking of absences, the whole program. CSIU is the Central Susquehanna Intermediate Unit, which is up by Bucktown College. They provide the program to many school districts in the state.
So I mean, that's just an operational, reoccurring charge we see every year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So next on the agenda, we have three options. We'll start with the first one, the proposed final budget for 25-26 that includes a 1.0 mil tax increase. This is option one. Do we have a motion and a second to approve option one? I'll take that as a no. So option two would be 9.7.2 is a 1 mil tax increase, which equates to 4% increase. Do we have a motion and a second to approve option two, 9.7.2?
Motion.
Do we have a second? Okay. Any questions or comments? We can. Today I did a study on our real estate transfers. So any properties that were sold within the last year or transferred within the last fiscal year. And I did an analysis of any properties that would have changed the tax by $500 or more. And it appears that as a total, $330,000 in the district would have been gained by having assessment appeals done. So, but also there's various properties in there that were assessed way higher, or they were sold for way higher than what they were assessed at.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Well, So I need to do a lot more research when it comes to a lot of these properties because, like, for instance, there's properties sold for over $1 million that were on the tax rolls only at $39,000. So there's various things that I need to look into. But just as a quick analysis that I've done today, over the past year, it was about $330,000 in tax revenue that is being lost here in the district.
And Ken, you've explored this in another district, correct?
I have, but it was mainly for a lot of vacation properties. So this requires a policy, though, adopted by the board that lays out parameters. So we're not picking and choosing properties based on, on a whim. We need to have a proper policy in place that outlines the properties that we choose to assess. And you go about it by the amount their assessment would change based on an appeal. But that's something we could discuss in the future. We would have to create a policy and the board would have to, just like any other policy, adopt the policy.
My fellow board members' edification, if our solicitor is able to get this in front of us in a timely fashion, and we were to move forward with this program, my understanding is that we could put these appeals forward for this year, correct? So when tax bills go out in July, it would reflect the adjustment. Is that correct?
So I believe the appeal hearings are due by August, I believe, of this school year.
Yeah, if you'd like me to weigh in on that, I'd be happy to. Good evening, I know you can't see me on the line, David Walker from Saxon and Stump. I'm here tonight on behalf of Derek Coco, our firm. Yes, the tax assessment appeal would have to be filed on or before August 1st to meet the county filing deadline. However, the change in assessment would not be until the following year, so it wouldn't be your invoices going out this July 1st. It would be starting the appeal period for the following year.
So it would be for the 26, 27.
But yes, correct. But the comments are are absolutely correct that the district has the ability to file taxing authority initiated appeals against properties in the district, so long as you do so consistent with the uniformity clause of the Pennsylvania Constitution. You can't target certain types of properties like just commercial and things like that. You have to set mutually applicable financial thresholds that apply evenly to every type of property, whether it's commercial, residential, or whatever. As long as you adopt a policy and you apply those thresholds uniformly to any type of property, you can initiate tax appeals to recover lost revenue.
Thank you. And I appreciate the feedback, and we're looking forward to what your team drafts and brings back to us for consideration. Thank you very much.
We have a number of those policies. I'd be happy to talk to Derek and get something to you guys as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
So just a follow-up question. So revenue from current 24-25 academic year that we're in now, we would see that revenue in next academic year, 25-26. And then additional 25-26 revenue with new homes being sold. Would we see that revenue in that academic year, or are we always a year behind?
The appeals would relate to the next tax year, okay? If there's new properties that come online, depends on when they hit the tax rolls, things such as that, or if there's, for some reason, an interim assessment or anything like that, that depends on when those properties come on, that could be mid-year. But any appeals, the assessment changes with the tax year.
Thank you.
Okay, so for consideration purposes on this budget and this millage rate, there's no additional revenue that will flow from any assessment changes, correct?
Correct.
Just the basis, okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions on 9.7.2? I'll have all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 saying no, so.
All those saying no?
No.
No.
So understand it's a 2-5 vote.
Could you do a roll call?
Yeah, we do a roll call. So I have Mr. Bailey and Troy as a yes. Mr. Walker is a no. Mr. Fink is a no.
That's correct.
Mrs. Livingston, oh, sorry, Mrs. Lawson is a no. Mrs. Rohrbaugh is a no. Mr. Earls is a no. Okay, thank you. So we have a 2-5 no. So the next motion we have is 9.7.3. Do we have a motion and a second to approve 9.7.3, the 0.75 mil tax increase?
Motion.
Do we have a second? Any questions on the motion? No. So we'll do a roll call from the start here. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Rohrbaugh?
No.
Mr. Walker? Mrs. Lawson?
No.
Mr. Fink?
No.
So we have a 4-3 yes vote. Okay, so the next option we have is up on, it's actually up for debate on the floor. So we need to pass a proposed budget by the end of this month. So I guess the next option would be for the next motion or a proposal on the proposed budget.
I can address that. Adoption of your budget is a majority of all members of the board to be recorded. We've interpreted that provision of the school code in various sections to indicate 5 votes as a majority of all members, not just the majority of those present.
Does anybody have any comments on what we should do next?
Well, I just have a recommendation. I would like, the reason why I said no is I would like you guys to go back and just look at other ways of reducing cutting some costs. That doesn't affect any programs. I just would like to see what you can come back with on some reduction.
Is there an idea?
A lot of good work has been done, but I'm not comfortable that we've done all that can be done to reduce spending.
Is there a consensus on an amount? I'm sorry. Mr. Livingston has his hand up. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
I can, is he speaking or not?
No.
Oh, okay. I would like to see somewhere around that 500. Right now, we're 2.5 million short. If we would find another 500 and then take the other 2 million out of our fund balance, or with maybe a slight tax increase, which the lowest I guess we can go is 0.5 mil. Is that correct? Oh, we can go lower than that. Okay.
So Brian, with the 500, what would that do to the tax increase then? Where does that put you at?
I don't know. I thought 0.5 was the lowest we could go, so I'll have to think about that. I would be comfortable taking $2 million out of the fund balance.
So that's the 0.75 mil though, right? It doesn't do anything to village. You have to decide on what village you collectively want to raise, or collectively how much you want to take out of fund balance.
Like to Brian's point, if he's taking $2 million from the fund balance, an additional $500,000, then what's the millage rate have to come in though?
So I don't understand the question. So at 0.75, you're taking $2 million out of fund balance. So if we have an additional $500,000 reduction, so we're only taking.
I see what you're saying, my question, Brian, but.
Right. So if you only want to take $2 million, that's a 0.75 mil tax increase. So if you only want to take 1.5, right, if you only want to take 1.5 mil or $1.5 million out of your fund balance, right, it would be, it's a trade-off, right? If you want $500,000 more deduct in reduction for expenses, but it's going to be difficult to do that without affecting educational program in some way.
Well, I would just ask to look at that. Ultimately, I don't want you to come to the table with it affecting any type of programs. But maybe just take a look and see how close you can get to that number. That's just a starting point for me.
So that the next question would be, when do we want to meet next? Because I think we, instead of adjourning, we should probably figure out when our next meeting should be. And that, because our next meeting has to be this month, and that also then triggers us having another special meeting in May. Because when you adopt a proposed budget, you have to have 30 days between the proposed budget and the final budget. So say we adopt, or say we have a special meeting next week, we would have to have another special meeting at the end of May then to adopt the final budget. But I know everybody's schedules are, we have to figure that out. So we could send an invite, see what everybody's schedule looks like. Maybe at the end of, maybe next Thursday, maybe the following week.
So you're saying, can the special meeting will have to take place this month?
We have to have 2 special meetings. We have to have one this month and one next month.
Before next month's board?
No, we'd have to have one special meeting before this month, and then a special meeting after May's board meeting, because we have to have 30 days in between the passage of the two budgets. Correct. Okay.
Ken, just got a question. If we do, let's say we vote on the 0.75, that would have to sit for 30 days, but in the end vote in the 30 days, that could change. We could go to a different village.
Yes, so yes, if you adopt the budget tonight, that's, say, 0.75 mil, and you feel that that's not necessary when you're voting in May, you can change the vote in May to whatever, tax increase or non-tax increase you would want. So that, essentially, that's what you're doing with this motion. You're adopting a preliminary budget to then finalize in May. That's the intent on this motion.
The motion.
Would it be possible for us to meet in between to have further discussions?
Yes, but you would have to adopt something tonight, right? Or adopt something at another special meeting and then have another meeting in between there and the next special meeting.
So this motion tonight would be start the 30-day countdown.
Correct.
So we merged it, we seconded it, we voted. So where does that leave us now?
I think that's,
Any of the items that were already voted on, there could be a motion for reconsideration. We would need a motion for reconsideration, a second, that itself is debatable. If that passes, then we can reconsider that one prior motions that were voted on.
So I would like to make a motion to reconsider point number 5, with the understanding of my fellow board members that we can adjust that number at the meeting where we make the final adoption. Am I correct in how I stated that, Mr. Burke?
I would agree with that. I mean, then we could have a meeting from now, in between now and May's meeting, to talk about Mr. Fink's recommendation of cutting $500,000 from expenses. So I think that could be a successful plan if we want to do that.
And then that would keep us from not having to have 2 meetings between now and the next 30 days.
Correct. Correct. So I think we have a motion from Mr. Livingston to readdress, it would be 9.7.3. Do we have a second of that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions on what the motion is? It's re-voting on 9.7.3, which is the 0.7 mil tax increase, but that is also just the preliminary proposed budget, not the final.
And just to clarify, this is the motion for reconsideration. This allows us to reconsider the amendment vote again on 9.7.
Any questions? So we'll do another roll call vote. So I'll go around. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lawson? And Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have to take another vote on 9.7.3. Any questions? Or actually, I need another motion, correct? We need another motion for 9.7.3.
Motion.
Motion.
Thank you. So I have Seth and then Troy. So we'll start by voting. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Rohrbaugh? Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lawson? And Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. So the next two motions, all four next 4 motions, 9.8, 9.9, and well, actually we'll do the 3, 9.8, 9.9, and 9.10. I would need a motion on those 3.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. So what those 3 motions are is setting forth the taxation and the proposed budget. So first we have to advertise that we adopted this budget and then make it available for the public to see. Right? We'll post it on the website. And it'll be at the office for anybody to see. So we have to put that in the newspaper. The 9.9 is all of our taxes that we already adopt. There's no new taxes involved in this. And the 9.10 is how the tax collectors go about collecting taxes, how the bills are made up and the date associated with those taxes. So is there any questions on 9.8, 9.9, and 9.10? Okay. Any, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ayes have it. And also we have 9.11, it's a real estate refund because of I believe because of a tax appeal. Do you have a motion and a second for 9.11? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Next, we have the Secretary's report, 10. I would need a motion on this 10, the Secretary's report. So 10.1 to 10.5. Have a motion by Brian Walker.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Freed. Any questions on the motions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. And last for the Secretary, we have the disposal report, which is 11, motion 11. Do we have a motion and a second for 11.1?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on the disposals?
Break out the VHS camcorder and see if any of our students actually know what they're doing.
Probably not, right? Probably not. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Well, one last thing, I guess. So number 12, which is Secretary's report on miscellaneous, we have the PSBA voting delegate assembly. As part of the annual conference for PSBA, they ask you to please submit your vote to the membership of PSBA. There is a gathering that takes place in the Poconos, but for informational purposes, you can go online and vote, I believe. No? No?
You have to be in
Right, okay. So that's information there for you, for PSBA. Next up, we have Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Superintendent report for personnel, motion for the board to approve 13.1 through 13.4.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries.
Curriculum, motion for the board to approve 14.1 and 14.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for 14.1 and 14.2. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Policy, motion for the board to approve first reading of 15.1 and 15.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for 15.1 and 15.2. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
New business, motion for the board to approve 16.1 and 16.2.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for 16.1 and 16.2. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. President's report, I have no report for tonight. I have some informational items, upcoming board meetings, May 13th at 5:15. The Operations Committee meeting also is at the Administration Building, May 15th at 6 p.m. The regular board meeting is being held at the Administration Staff Development Room. And we have the high school athletic signing event, May 21st at 7 p.m. at the high school PAC. Committee reports, operations, Mr. Livingston. Okay, the York LIU Joint Authority, Mr. Livingston. York County School of Technology, the report is attached. And the York County School Technology Authority, Mrs. Lawson. York and Adams Academy, Mr. Fink.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and the Lincoln Intermediate Unit 12 report is attached. We have reached a point on the agenda for final board comments. Seeing none. We have reached a point of the meeting for public comment. This can be on any topic.
Would you like to go first? You can make it first.
Thank
Yep, you go ahead.
Seeing as it's almost like that time, I'm going to try and make this quick. I want to thank the members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Mancuso. My name is Brendan Wrightstone, and I am the senior class president. We, the senior class, believe it is. All right. We believe that every student who walks on this campus and through those doors to enter our school deserves a chance at an enriching experience. We believe the absence of a library at our school voids them of that right. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, just 12% of schools don't have a library or media center across the United States. Along with this, 67% of students, K through 12, get their books through libraries. For students from low-income families, this number is even higher. Per the Future Ready GA Index, yes, please.
You good?
All right. Per the Future Ready PA Index, a link provided from the Eastern York School District webpage, 45% of our high school families are designated as economically disadvantaged. The district as a whole is over 50%. Students from these families have little access to literature and information besides their phones and the books they get to read in class, which is very few. This is why the senior class proposes the room originally designated as the library be repurposed back into a library. Section 701 of School Board Policy says each school building and site shall provide suitable accommodations to carry out the educational program. We believe that our lack of a library impedes students' capability within the school. As previously stated, over 50% of families are designated as economically challenged in our community. An even greater percentage of students inhabit environments that do not allow for uninterrupted and focused academic efforts. A question you may think to ask is, where does the band go? The band is the people who have been in our library for the past few years since COVID. The band has admittedly grown since the outbreak of COVID-19. This being said, the Performing Arts Center, right here, has space for members of the band. Other rooms like the chorus room and the Performing Arts Center lobby can be used for individualized practices with the individual sections. This arrangement would be less efficient than practicing as a collective, but the cons would be outweighed by the benefits for all students to have a library. The district's speedy deliberation on the library's future and the delegation of space for our musical programs should not negatively impact the school as a whole. And this, having a library, would greatly benefit everyone, not just certain groups. It is the school system's responsibility to allow for an accessible space that prioritizes educational pursuits. I want to emphasize that the library was repurposed as we came back from the shutdown in 2021. During this time period, all the resources from the library were removed from the room and taken elsewhere. We do not now, I'm sure, I hope you guys do. These books and furniture that were once being used are now either collecting dust, are unaccounted for, or have been sold for profit. The only fiscally acceptable option of which being selling. Either way, donations and community help, which are already guaranteed to members in our senior class, as well as would be given to the school as a whole, have already been guaranteed. This can make up a large part of the gap that we have between the books we have and the books we may need if we were to buy them back or take them out of storage. Along with this, and taking into account the budget deficit that we do have, if these books are in storage, it would not take a very long amount of time to get them back out and to start the library up again. Good?
Yep, time's up, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you very much.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the school board and Superintendent Dr. Mancuso for giving members of the community the opportunity to come before them and have a voice. I'm Madeline Goen, another senior within this school, and I would like to furthermore discuss the issue of our school's lack of a library. First and foremost, I would like to make it clear it is no way our intention to reduce or diminish the availability of resources for our musical arts programs. Our programs like band and orchestra are essential to our school's environment and our student body. Despite this fact, we believe a library or media center is equally as important. I would also like to clarify that my peer, Brennan Redstone, did a great job sharing many of the logistical reasons why we should have a library and incorporated many statistics to support his argument. My reasoning will be much more experience-based. There's so much value in having a safe, distraction-free environment to allow students to be able to access information, utilize available internet, and simply study and focus on their academics. Furthermore, reinstating a library would provide a versatile space. For example, Eastern York is home to a multitude of different clubs and groups that our students have the opportunity to participate in. A library would be a wonderful place for many of these meetings to be held. Similarly, a library would be beneficial in the event that collaborative efforts are being made. Often I walk through the hallways of the school and I see groups of students working on projects together. Rather than having a comfortable and productive environment to be in, they are seated on the hard floors of the hallways. They are currently not being given a suitable circumstance to thrive and excel in the way that they could be in school. I personally can attest to the fact that my high school career would have been much improved if I had access to an on-campus library. I am a student who often does not study or focus well at home. While this is not due to disadvantaged circumstances, I simply cannot focus in my own space. The way that I have managed to stay successful is through inhabiting other areas such as cafes and off-campus libraries. While I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to such places, I am well aware that many of my peers who have the same struggle as me are not in a position in which they can do so. While I may only truly be able to speak for myself, there are many of my fellow students who I know would advocate for the same if they did not fear using their own voice. Today, I'm choosing to advocate for my peers who are unable or unwilling to do so, and that's why I'm choosing to fight for a library. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Why don't we have a library? I don't know the answer, so I'm just curious. We're allowed to guess.
The band expanded, we're almost 80 members, and the space that they were in with the equipment, we needed to find a new space, and at the time, we were already spaced out, so when we came back from COVID, that's where the space was, where we could space our students 6 feet apart at that time, and we've still maintained around that number. And we are aware of, and I thank the seniors for coming out this evening and advocating for that space. Administratively, we are well aware of the need to try to work to find a solution for both of those so that we can have a media center back as well as provide a space for our band to practice with the equipment that goes along with that.
One question real quick. Dr. Mancuso, where were those, do we still have those resources? The
We have like I forget how many boxes of books we actually have, but we have all those. Yeah, those are all in storage.
My name is Chris Kozlowski, and I live in Pelham Township. This is my first school board meeting. I came for a different reason. I certainly didn't expect to hear students begging for books and a place to study. I'm beyond shocked. Especially in light of the talk that I heard earlier about proposed tax hikes. So perhaps the books are in storage, so it's not a matter, to the young man who spoke, I'm sorry I don't know your name, it's not a matter of buying supplies, and presumably the desks and tables are also chairs still exists somewhere, so presumably it won't cost money to bring back a library. Students no longer need to be 6 feet apart. COVID is behind us. So I'm not sure what the holdup is. I was happy to hear Dr. Mancuso say that it's under administrative consideration. I'd love to hear more about what that consideration is going to involve. I hope that that will be addressed within the board. But I have to say that I'm so impressed by many of the things I heard here today. I don't know much about our district. I didn't raise my daughter here. I only moved here. She's an adult and lives in Philadelphia, and I only moved here about 14 years ago. And I think I attended one concert here to support a student that I knew. So I really don't know much about the district. But I'm impressed by what I heard. A district where a principal comes and talks about personalized learning. I mean, that's incredible. I'm a teacher, and I've done personalized learning, and I know how hard it is, and I know how necessary it is, and I think that's wonderful. And the energy of the teachers that spoke, and the students, that the kid that said he just can't decide what part of the day is so good, but he likes the learning parts, was wonderful. So it's kind of oxymoronic to be in a place where students are, teachers are working so hard and students are begging for books. It's frankly kind of Orwellian. I hope that you will get on this library thing. These are graduating seniors. What a nice gift to leave to the upcoming class. I hope that you'll seriously consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now for the reason that I'm here. It is appalling to me that you would let Wendy Fink come in here and tell you how to treat the children in your school. I mean, literally, the definition of extortion, the practice of obtaining something through force or threats, Wendy Fink. Bribery, the act of offering, giving, or giving something of value to influence the actions of an official or a person in authority, you. There is no reason that transgender kids, now please keep in mind that to me sports is, transgenders in sports to me is a separate topic. I'm talking about if that child there that was born a girl now wants to be called he and go by a different name, who is it for you to decide that they can't do that just because Wendy Fink doesn't want to give you money? And you're talking about raising taxes. If you want to raise taxes, you go right ahead, but you tell her to just get out of your business, okay? You are hurting kids. Who is it going to hurt if I call that person that was born a girl, if I call him he? Who is that going to hurt? Nobody. Nobody but your funding. Okay, that is that person's choice to be who they want to be. Do you understand that? What you're doing is you are teaching discrimination. You treat that child like they want to be treated, and nobody's going to get hurt. And eventually, everyone will just accept it, and it won't even be an issue. Do you remember how big of an issue it was 30 years ago when someone was gay? They were gay 30 years ago. They were gay 100 years ago. They just didn't tell anybody because they were afraid of repercussions. Now these kids are not afraid to be who they are, and yet you're letting an Indian representative come in here and tell you how to treat these kids. It is ridiculous. It is appalling. It is disgusting. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that every single one of you people agree. Okay? I don't know you. I don't know any of you. But what you are is college graduates, I'm guessing, and you can't figure out a bathroom solution? You put a wall of bathrooms over there. Everybody can have their own stall, their own sink. How hard is that? I mean, really? A 10-year-old can figure it out. Disney figured it out. When we got to go on our wish trip, we went into this nice little separate room for kids on big wish trips. Bathroom. No boys and girls, nothing. It's not that complicated. Again, I like to refresh that sports to me is a different topic. But as far as just being treated, worried about, why don't you guys be the first to stand up and say, you know what, we don't need your funding. Do you know what I mean? in with everybody else. And finally, we have come to a time in which kids can be who they want to be.
Thank you for your comments.
May I add, you might want to keep this meeting in this room for the next one, too.
Good evening, I'm Marcy Goen. I am a resident of Pelham Township. Madeline is my daughter. I am just here to support the students' wish to have the library brought back. She is not my only child in the district. I still have 2 more to come through. And the benefits of having a library are indescribable for me as a person who is a reader and who wants my children to read, not just on this. It's not just about having the books in front of them. It's about the space. It's about collaborative work. It's not disparaging the band. Everybody needs a space. But after COVID, the library just disappeared. They just poof. No more library. No more space for them to even go to work. So that's one here I would just really like to support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to point out the inconsistency in the previous city statement about children are born as who they are if they're gay, but they can choose to change their sex. Did anybody notice the inconsistency there? There's only male and there's only female, and it can't be changed. It doesn't matter whether it's in the bathroom, stores, or just walking down the hallway. Telling a kid something that's a lie is hurting them. It's not providing a safe space for them. The only thing that you can do for somebody who's caught in a lie is tell them the truth. And a lot of times people who believe lies don't want to hear that. But that doesn't change the responsibility to be honest with them. And you can be honest with them in a way that is not harsh and brutal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen from Lower Windsor Township. I just want to say that I think it's sad that we are talking about accepting students or not into different parts of our school. I don't think that should be even a topic, especially when, like others before me said, kids are begging for books. Should that not be your next meeting instead of this sports policy, instead of whether or not we accept a student for who they are? Because I think as a school district, that should be where our priority is. But I care about kids learning. And I would hope as a school district and a school board, you do too. But we'll see how the next meetings go. I would strongly suggest, let's go to the library.
Thank you.
First of all, wow, you guys are giving students a library. That's crazy. Band is super important, but this is a school. Why is there not a library? I went to the school. I remember the library. I don't feel like I went here that long ago. And I didn't come here to talk about a library, but that's shocking that you guys, as the previous speaker said, are talking about accepting students. And your students don't have a library resource at the high school where they can study, where they can apply for scholarships, where they can, meet in a safe space with other students, in a third space that isn't classroom, that's in sports. Crazy. But I would just like to say, the gentleman that spoke brings up an interesting point. And for his home, that's a great point. He has children, he can raise them how he chooses to. But you guys are school board. You guys are administrators of a school district. You are not parenting these students. You are not creating a culture with the way you train. You have your children in your house.
making your students feel like you, as the administrators, you as the people who have the power in the school district, care about them, that's not acceptable. That's crazy to me, that you guys are thinking about all the other opinions that don't matter. Your students' opinions matter. The kids that come to school every day, maybe they come from a home that's not great, that doesn't accept them, but they want to come here and they want to feel safe. They don't want a teacher to be like, well, I don't have to call you what you want. That's crazy. Like, it doesn't harm that teacher to use whatever preferred pronouns that child has. There's no harm in doing that. And giving teachers essentially what you're doing is allowing a teacher to bully a child. That's what you're doing. Because students do that. Teenagers do that. Teenagers intentionally use in a bullying tactic for a child who's not transgender. They'll call a boy by she because they want to bully him. You're essentially telling teachers, telling other students that it's okay to not respect your child, and that child doesn't have to feel safe because there's parents or people who are giving us legal advice or giving us funding that feel that we should think this. You guys are intelligent, independent individuals, and I think you should think about what the students think, and not about the parents and not about everybody else, because you serve the school district, and yes, you serve everyone here, but the kids are what matter. And if you're not hearing this from the kids, which I don't think you are, and if you are, it's a very small majority, then maybe just reevaluate.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to adjourn? Oh, go ahead, sir, on the seat.
I have Scott Hertzler from Pelham Township, and I want to thank the board for allowing me to speak. And it is harmful to not tell the truth to a child. When they have an XY chromosome and they're male, they are male. So you can't, what else would we lie about in education? You need to speak the truth in love. I thank you that the board has chosen to do that.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion and a second to adjourn?